Welcome. This is a Director General Portfolio Requirement onboarding video. And in this video, what we're going to do is provide a very superficial overview of an introduction to government. What we'll do is look at some of the key institutions that you should be aware of. So the first question is, what is at the top of the government food chain? What organization is the penultimate in the government of Canada? And this is a pretty basic thing that you probably should know. And it is Parliament. So Parliament is the organization that is at the top of the government food chain. Everything that we do flows out of authority that is inherent in Parliament. So what does Parliament do? Why does it exist? What purpose does it serve? Do you remember? This is stuff that was taught in your grade 10 civics class. Well, broadly speaking, Parliament creates laws. It also has the authority to raise taxes. And when I say raise, I don't mean increase, but to collect taxes and then to spend those tax dollars to enforce the laws that it has created. So broadly speaking, that is what Parliament does. Now the question is, what creates Parliament? There are three organizations that work together to create Parliament, and they each have an important part. And do you recall what those organizations are? And the hint is that, remember, the main purpose of Parliament is to create laws that affect the entire country. Well, the three organizations that make up Parliament include the House of Commons, the Senate, and the Governor General. Now we're going to look at Parliament in a little bit more depth. So at the top, we have the Governor General, and the Governor General is an appointed position. We also have the House of Commons. To get into the House of Commons, you have to run and get elected in an election, and then you become a member of Parliament. The third part is the Senate, and like the Governor General, senators are appointed. Now, within the House of Commons, there's a special group. These are elected members of Parliament who, under normal circumstances, when we have a majority government, are part of the predominant political party, and they're called cabinet. Somebody who's in cabinet is given an executive function. That means that they help run part of the mandates that the laws have created. What this means is if you're a cabinet position, it means that you oversee some aspect of this blue blob that I'm showing here, that is the bureaucracy or the public service. So within cabinet, the top person is the prime minister, and they are essentially the leader of the government, and the cabinet members oversee the different government departments and agencies within this blue blob. So they are a very important function inside of the House of Commons that people within the Senate or other elected members of Parliament do not have. Now, now we're going to do is look a little bit more at this blob of the bureaucracy. And not all government departments are created equal. There are several government departments that are more important than others. Specifically, what we're going to do now is talk about 4 of these departments or agencies. These are Treasury Board, Department of Finance, the Privy Council Office, and the Prime Minister's Office. These 4 government departments are slightly more important than other government departments because these government departments can tell other departments what to do or how to do it. One way to think about these 4 agencies is that they are in the middle of a wheel, and out from them you have spokes or tentacles that connect to all of the other government departments and agencies. And so given that these players or these government departments are in the middle, they have a central role, these 4 departments collectively are known as central agencies. Because these 4 departments and agencies are so important, we're going to look at each of them a little bit in more detail. The first is the PM's office, the Prime Minister's office, or the PMO. This organization is essentially the Prime Minister's department, and it exists to support the Prime Minister in their activities. Most of the people who work here are appointed because they're part of the political party of the governing government party. The purpose of the PM's office is to set the government's agenda and vision for the country. The next organization we'll look at is the Privy Council Office, or PCO. The PCO coordinates the government's policy agenda, and it is responsible for integrating cross-government initiatives. So the Privy Council Office provides an integrating function. So if there is a problem that the government wants solved, and so the Prime Minister's office directs the rest of the public service to solve or examine an issue, the Privy Council office would get the main government departments that are responsible for those issues and bring them together into a room and create a plan to create an initiative to solve that problem. The next group we'll look at is the Department of Finance. The Department of Finance is important because it creates the government's budget. Remember that one of the primary reasons why Parliament exists is to collect and spend money. So the Department of Finance creates the budget, which determines how much tax the government needs to collect. Now, very often, the government spends more money than it can collect in tax dollars. It's therefore the responsibility of the Department of Finance to go out and borrow the money to cover those costs. And the way it works is if the initiative is not funded in the budget, then it does not get done. So the budget is a very important, critical product that the government is responsible for, and the Department of Finance is responsible for creating it. The last organization we'll look at is Treasury Board. The reason why Treasury Board is important is because it creates the management rules that other government departments have to follow. It is responsible for something that is called the Expenditure Management System. The Expenditure Management System is the method of how government departments actually get money to carry out their programs. And if a government department wants to get more money to do an initiative, they have to go to Treasury Board to ask for more money. So collectively, these 4 departments and agencies help the Government of Canada coordinate and provide direction and funds to the rest of the government departments and agencies to carry out the mandates and vision that the Prime Minister wants carried out. Now is a little quick review because we've actually covered quite a bit of information. We start off by talking about Parliament. We describe how there are 3 organizations in Parliament: the Governor-General, the Senate, and the House of Commons. We also looked a little bit more at the House of Commons to show that that's where the Prime Minister works, and that's where we have Cabinet, which provides executive oversight for the bureaucracy and the public service. We then looked at 4 central agencies inside the public service. The agencies we looked at were the Prime Minister's Office, the Department of Finance and Treasury Board, and the Privy Council Office. We call these central agencies because they have the authority to tell other government departments what to do and help coordinate the activities across government. So that's all for now. The purpose of this, remember, was just to provide a very superficial overview of some key aspects of the government that might affect your work when you're at ADMIE. And in future videos, what we're going to do is look more closely at the Department of National Defense and ADMIE in particular. See you then.